All right, we're going to do what we did not do last time and actually introduce ourselves. How about that, boys? And it's even more fun this time because we got 3 Joshes on the mic. I'm Josh Pugh, Vice President of the Lansing Common Football Club. I've got this year's voice of the Robins, Josh Lee, right next to me. Introduce yourself, Josh.
Yeah, one of the interns here doing play-by-play alongside Noah Stalker, who could not be here today. It's been a lot of fun this summer, but we still got some games to go, Josh.
Yes, indeed. Josh, I know that this is going to be a tough adjustment for you, but you gotta keep the mic close to your mouth every time, because every time you turn your head, I know that's unfair that we did that to you, but you're a professional. I believe in you.
Thanks, Josh.
We got Josh Rosendale here, former player and assistant coach for Lansing Common. What's up, Josh?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad at all. And as always, on this coaches show, head coach of the Robins, Brent Sorg. How you doing, Sorg?
I am outstanding, thank you.
Retirement treating you even better than it was 3 months ago?
It sure is.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, we are nearing the end of the season with 2 more home games left and 1 more on the road. What's your take of the season so far? You can't complain, right? You're in the driver's seat to control your destiny for the division.
We are, and that's been the message here in the last couple weeks to the guys, and it's been good, right? We've gotten some results. We've had 2 games where late comebacks. Again, just that belief of in that resolve. So it's been a fun year for sure.
And, Coach, it seems like this year you've been led by your veterans. I mean, Jack Heald, the player that returned from last year, he's been scoring a lot of goals, had a goal last match against Goshen. Your center back, Spencer Powell, he's been that really stalwart in the back. What do you make of the fact that your veterans and your leaders are kind of taking this group forward and pushing towards the division title?
Well, I think that's what it is, and that's the expectation, right? Those guys are, because of their experience, they have meaningful college minutes. They come in. And I've said this to Jack. Jack was not very good for us last year. I thought he was inconsistent. Good player. I knew he had it in him, and he came in this year, and I don't know whether it was from the experience that he had last year at Cleary or what, but it's just good to see the growth of those guys. It certainly helps us to, keep calmness, keep maturity, keep driving us forward. And I'll say that it's like coaching staff, we discuss who your leaders are. And I think it's always a challenge to go, I think early in the year I was asked about who do you think, and Max Crawford was a guy who I know I did. I identified him. And Max is a good leader. But quite honestly, at the end of the day, not all of them have to wear the captain armband. And we only name one to wear the armband. And Goal US. That's a good start.
This is a live podcast, folks. We got stuff going on.
We got a goal for US.
You're along for the ride with us if you are watching this on the recording. Let's go.
Fourth minute
go
in.
USA.
Sorry, I got a little distracted there. But that being said, right?
It was the Gold Cup's poor planning, not ours.
Correct. Those senior guys, they bring, again, they have fun with it. But you can see that the guys who are either seniors going into college, or even those guys that are 1 year into their college careers, those guys look up to the older players, and they respect them. They have they listen to them. They're respected, and that's really what you need.
And I mentioned Spencer Powell in that last question. Obviously, it's notable that Miles Foster went down with a hernia earlier this year. So the squad has been hit with some injuries. I mean, Jack Voigt just came back from his rib issue. How have you been able to maintain the quality needed to compete at this high level, especially with some key injuries, especially Miles Foster?
Yeah, that was obviously a concern when I got that phone call. But it's the next man up mentality, and I think our guys have absolutely adapted very well. We had a conversation with Ben Novello, who Ben Novello is a utility guy. He's, quite honestly, he's probably a 9. That's where he plays for his college ball. Although when he played back in his day at East Lansing, he was a center back. So I knew he had the capability. And don't get me wrong, Damian, I think, is a fantastic player. He's just young, and he's got some growing to do. So I think there's value in putting Ben Novello and Spencer Powell as our two center backs, and Damian just is able to observe. Right? We talk about some moments, key moments, and I think and Damian's been called upon. He's going to need to continue to be called upon. So, it's obviously losing losing Miles was had an impact, but it just was like a conversation among staff, and it sorted itself out.
By the way, it had a less of an impact than we would have thought, too, right? Like, if we had been sitting here in April and previewed these questions that we're asking 2.5 months later and said, Miles Foster out for the season, that seems terrible, and yet we're top of the table. So I think, the first time Steve told me that Ben Novello was a 9 and we had to play in center back, I was like, what? How's that possible? Because this kid's a baller back there, and he is just he's doing things in and out of position every game where he's just really helping set the tone and set the tempo for us in a way that has helped us maintain, and not just maintain, but probably exceed expectations based on everything we just said.
Agree, and I would further say that to piggyback is Ben Novello, what a great person. That never, when we came to him and I pulled him aside after I learned about Miles and said, hey, I know I believe in you. I know in year one you played for us as a center back a little bit and kind of exchanged and played up top, but we're going to need you to play a more critical role as playing a center back full time. And again, there was never any wavering. It was, okay, I'm ready to step into that role. And that's really what you need. You need guys who buy in and are committed to the process, and Ben Novello is one of those kids.
So then following off that question, with only 3 games left to go, 2 of them at home and 1 in Grand Rapids, the practices, are they going to be more physical? Are we going for more technical, focusing on that to avoid injuries, especially after last game where we saw a little chippiness and hopefully nobody came away with injuries and cramping, especially with the heat coming in?
Yeah, so we're going to have to dial in, we know, our last couple weeks here in order to get points in every one of those games. It's going to be critical. We control our destiny. I know it's like that phrase we've used over and over and over again, but it's true, right? If we don't take points in these last 3 games, our summer's over. If we continue to do the job, and I'll say this week the guys have off. And I think after following our Goshen game, I know it's a future question, but I think it's important that our guys, it's almost like that international break. The guys get a chance to just get away, get healthy, hit the reset button, and know that they've got to go finish strong. So what will training look like? Monday we'll be back after the holiday weekend. It's like I fully expect us to get after it and have a good, intense session. Wednesday will be, again, more dialed in on probably refining some set piece stuff. Just being, not heavy legs, so our guys are healthy because we know we play Friday, Sunday. So it will be important to keep that, keep legs fresh.
And Monday, of course, starts with the evaluation of any stupid boat injuries that happened this weekend, right?
That's correct, yes.
Job 1.
Yes.
Rosie, you've been a member of the squad for a long time in different capacities. How have you watched this team evolve the past few years since you started playing for Lansing Common?
Yeah, I don't know
Big question.
I don't know if it's I feel like I'm getting older, but the guys feel younger. And like when I was playing, it felt like we always had
I think they are.
Yeah, I feel like we always had a lot of older guys when I was around. And I don't know if that's just because of me, but I feel like now it's a lot of the younger guys that back when I was playing, they were just starting high school and all that. So it's cool to kind of see them, now get to the level where we were all playing at here with Lansing Common and kind of, fill those shoes in a way.
So what was that transition like? Talk a little bit more about that. To go from player stepping into a coaching role, what parts of that were easy for you and what parts have been a little bit more difficult?
I'd say the easiest parts are kind of just, as a player, I always felt like I was one to be able to kind of read the game and notice moments. So now from a coaching aspect, it's kind of, the same way to see those moments from the bench. But the most difficult part is, I'm not able to impact anymore from the field. Now we have to relay instructions to have the players impact. And, that's kind of been the most, difficult portion. And of course, I still think I can play. So I kind of want to put the boots back on sometime, but my body doesn't let me do that. So,
Well, if I can chime in,
Please.
we played a reserve game against Jags, and this is probably news to all of you, but Josh Rosendale laced up the boots, got minutes.
What position?
He played as the 9.
Okay.
We were a little bit short players and subs, but we made do. And I said, "What do you think?" He's like, "I'm in." And of course, Coach Derby was there, and he was, we're trying to make waivers, like make some friendly bets. Is if you score a goal, we're dinner's on the table, or right, like credit to Josh. He did again. He was excited about it. He went in, and I think his first touch was around the top of the box, and he strikes it, and it's blocked. But it was good. It was good to see.
Rosie, have you recovered, or are you still sore? That was like a week and a half ago.
No, Sorg gave me like a good 15 minutes to get the stretch in beforehand while the other guys continued to play, and then I went in. So I was a little sore here and there, but no, it was good.
Good stuff.
So, Coach, we're going to head over to, instead of the top of the field with the number 9, we're going to head back to the number 1. And the presumed number 1 this summer, in Sean O'Mara, left to take a job opportunity over in California. In steps Brooks Boersma. Talk about the role that he's played this season. He seems to have been a critical piece, even losing the presumed number 1. How do you take his performance so far this summer?
Brooks has been fantastic. I don't know how else to say it. I could end the conversation right there, but Brooks truly plays as a sweeper. I love how he is able to read the game and does very well at cleaning up balls that are played over the top, whether they're put back down the field or they're put out of bounds. It relieves pressure from us, and Brooks is that stable anchor in the back line, and he just does a good job. He's a good shot stopper. He does fairly well in his distribution, and it's just good to have a guy like that on our team.
So, Coach, before the Midwest game, we pressed Jackson Kiska into service, and Steve and I were in the bleachers waiting for the game to start, and this family comes up to us, and they say, "You two know what you're doing," and they looked so damn nervous. And I'm thinking, that makes sense. Your son's getting a perhaps unexpected start. I think Brooks took a late knock that night, or maybe a couple days before. But after the game, I find out from Max Crawford that Jackson hadn't gotten competitive minutes in like a year plus. And so where the hell did this kid come from? And were you confident that he would be such a good athlete and a talented shot stopper to put him in that situation against Midwest on the road?
Great question. Jackson came to us by Max Crawford's recommendation, and it wasn't just like green light. Okay, I trust every guy, but sometimes you do have to trust those guys. You got to trust your teammates and trust your players. But Jackson came in, and I thought, we've got 4 goalkeepers right now on our roster, and we task Andrew Nicholson with sorting out who's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's been consistent. Brooks is the 1, and Jackson's the 2, and Jackson has done well, and it looks like another goal for the U.S., folks. Another goal for the U.S.
I believe that's the second for Diego Luna,
It
too.
is. Second goal for Luna, and we're only 15 minutes in.
Hopefully
so that's
a boring second half.
We hope it continues. But, so Jackson has done well, and another thing about Jackson, I know, again, it probably sounds like a broken record player, but here's a guy who knows what his role is. He comes in, he travels to games, he sits the bench for 90 minutes plus, and never complains. He just does his job. He does the warm-up, and he just a great attitude. He's a great supporter on the bench, and that's your culture of your team is predicated on guys like that. And that's what Lansing Common embodies. And if Jackson were to say, Coach, I want to come back next year, I'd say, you have a spot.
absolute banter champion, too. I was right behind the bench on Sunday, and I had a great time hanging out with him, going back and forth with him about various offsides calls or not calls. At one point late in the second half, as the opposing keeper was not only time wasting, but had gotten several warnings from the officials for time wasting, he counted out loud. He's not addressing the referee, not being critical in any way, just counting to 11 or 12. And then right in that same window, a ball goes out of bounds, bounces over the fence into the stands, and he almost beat the ball kid to the ball, jumping over the fence, maybe taking some risks there, but he's a keeper, so what do you expect, right?
Right. Again, just that level of commitment, just a great human, great. You want a guy like that on your team. So happy to have Jackson, and I think he's done remarkably well.
Coach, Josh just mentioned it. We can't go much further without talking about what happened on Sunday with Goshen City. Talk about what was the difference between that come from behind win on the road in Goshen, Indiana versus what took place on Sunday.
I've had a lot of time to think about it and digest what occurred. And I think at the end of the day, though that team was desperate to take 3 points. And we played like we were comfortable sitting in the driver's seat. And we didn't go after it maybe as much as we should have. And it's disappointing, obviously. We talk about it. To not get the result, it's disappointing from the standpoint of, especially when they go down a man. But one of the messages when, the first send-off and then the guys come in for the hydration break, the message was, don't get comfortable, because teams that go down to 10 men often play better. And we've seen it. We've all been a part and seen games where that occurs. And that's exactly what happened. And I think we got a little comfortable, a little complacent, and they get the go-ahead goal going 2-1. And then, and then they have another send-off, and it was kind of that downward spiral and kind of the perfect storm for us. And the message post-game was, the goal was never to finish the season undefeated. The goal is to win a championship. That's still in our sights. That's still capable if you do the work. And so, there was some disappointment. We can be disappointed in the result, but it's one game. So we have to rebound, and I think having this week off is going to be, in my opinion, again, we'll see what happens come Friday, but that will be the telltale. There's a lot of factors we can point to. Oh, we shouldn't have given them a week off. Oh, maybe we didn't have a great training, or maybe we're missing a play. Whatever it might be, I'm excited that we're all able to just get away for a little bit, hit the reset button. We'll come back in next Monday. We'll be hungry because we know we've got 3 games that are important. 3 games that are meaningful, 3 games that we got to take points from. And the guys know that, and in order to play for a championship, that's exactly what's going to have to happen.
Coach Sorg, I want you to reflect a little bit on the growth of the team since that first team meeting at the beginning of the summer. You talked with the group then about the style of attacking soccer that you wanted to play, about being dangerous and taking chances, and the press that you highlighted. How do you feel all of that has worked with this group of guys this summer?
I think when we win possession of the ball, our mindset is to play vertical, and I like that about us. The guys have bought into that. They want that mentality of playing forward. But they also understand, and I think we've gotten better as it's evolved, and this comes through with training and just coaching guys and talking to the group, that every time we win possession, the ball doesn't have to be put down the field. We don't want to concede possession every single time. We want to be able to maintain and build and play and break lines, and so a little bit about Josh's question, intern Josh, about asking what training is going to look like next week. I think one of the things that we have to do a better job of is getting back to what our press and our cohesion looks like. I feel like we've gotten a little bit lazy, and albeit it's in my eyes, it's very minimal, but it's enough that we're getting broken still. So that can't happen as we go forward. So Monday will be built around, all right, at least some of the session will be built around us getting back in terms of our press, the cohesion, the net, the minimum width mentality. And that's, so to answer the question, Josh Pugh, I think we've done a good job. I thought we did a really good job early, and I think as the seasons maybe wore, I think guys are a little, maybe I'm not demanding enough, maybe we're not, and so we'll get back to it.
And then highlighting back to that first meeting, I remember sitting back there with my fellow other 2 interns who couldn't be here today, and a big point towards that end before we headed over to the field for training was you stressed a lot about those late goals. Lots of goals come in those last 10 minutes. And that seems, especially on the road, that seems to be a factor. Come back against Goshen, the fact that you guys you tied 2-2, and then you found a goal late against, I want to say, Midwest on the road. Talk about how have you been able to instill into these guys to focus on those last 10 minutes, to still not give up. Maybe you're down 2-1, you still find a way to come back. How have you instilled that into this group?
Yeah, look, I won't take credit for it. I attribute that to the leadership on the field and to the senior guys that just believe. And they see the message maybe that was delivered in terms of late goals are scored. And so just keep playing, keep pressing, keep getting balls into those half spaces and delivering dangerous balls into the box. And again, I think it's really a testament to those senior guys that the belief of not giving up, going to Goshen, getting the late winner, and then just going to Tulip.
Thank you. That was the game.
Yep, and just in stoppage time, and just what an incredible game to be a part of. It just goes to show you like the resolve of the group. I can't stress enough that it's powerful. It can take you places. It's meaningful that they just believe in that we're not leaving without 3 points. And again, that's the mentality that you have to try to win a championship.
Let's turn that on its head a little bit, though. What is one thing that when this season is said and done that you're going to be able to say that you learned from this group of guys?
I think for me, the culture of this group has been really sound. There's not a lot of egos. The guys play for each other. And I'll say this, I think I may have said it on the first podcast, but I thought we had maybe some bad apples in previous years, and I'll just say what it is. I think that has been eliminated, and we have, as a result, guys who maybe get 10 minutes or guys who don't see any minutes, or they just care about results. They want wins and they want 3 points. And that's when you have a team culture that cares about that and not about me, that's when you start to see good things happen. And again, I'm proud to be a part of it, a small piece of it, but the group is really bought in, and I think that's important.
Switch back over to Rosie. We'll get you back involved instead of Coach Sorg answering every question. Being a former Robin, what's something that you're trying to bring to these guys and show them? What kind of knowledge are you trying to impart on this group of guys?
Yeah, I think it's more, being in the professional environment. A lot of these guys are great players and they don't need to be, told a lot of, things like that. But, it's more engaging in the community. That's what this club's built on. So really kind of driving into that, if you support them, they're going to come support you. That's kind of the one thing there that, separates this club from, a lot of other clubs is the community engagement. So we're, I really try to stress that, when I was here, I was trying to get involved in, Potter Park cleanups, park cleanups, stuff like that. So I just think trying to, show them kind of the bigger picture of, it's not just the field, it's, everybody else outside is huge there.
And then coming from that other side, you're just talking about what you were seeing from the player side. How is it different, especially on practice days and game days? How do you see it differently from when you were a player to now being one of the coaches?
Yeah, it's way different. Like I said prior, I'm not out there anymore being able to make the play that I, potentially see. So now it's kind of just relaying information. I've actually learned a lot more coaching than I, in the coaching game than in the playing game almost. Being able to see, certain tactics, certain, training activities to get guys engaged, stuff like that. It's just been a really great learning curve for me. And yeah, I've loved it.
So, as you both know, different seasons of this club have featured a lot of different iterations and different looks at composition of the assistant coaching staff. Last year's coaching staff featured one assistant specializing in the attack while another focused more on the defense. How do you and Todd focus on breaking down those responsibilities, and how do you work together through the week and during games?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is we had a coaching meeting prior to the season, and Sorg kind of laid it all out for us. And it's this season. It's kind of been everybody's hands-on with everything. Derby's had the set pieces, stuff like that. But when it comes to like in-game adjustments, we're all bouncing ideas off of each other. It's not, I'm taking the attackers, Derby, you're with the defenders, and the stuff like that anymore. So I almost feel like that's kind of more beneficial because now, Derby's been in the game a lot longer than I have, so he might see some things that, I'm not seeing. But then, maybe I'm throwing ideas to him, and, we go to Sorg, and, he agrees with them. So it's kind of nice having, we're all looking at the whole game there.
So, Coach, back to you. We talked about a little earlier that this is a very selfless group, the fact that they're led by the leaders and the older guys. But in your eyes, who would you say have been the X factors? If you're holding a trophy, the Great Lakes West Division, if you're holding that and if you get to compete for the conference championship, who would you believe are the X factors that made this all possible?
Well, I think it's important to look at, I'm a stats guy. We've scored 13 goals and 9 different goal scorers. Jack Heald is our leading goal scorer with 4. That is, Jack has been a steady player for us. He has really good game knowledge and understanding. His soccer IQ is up there, and I really like that kid. I think he's just done a really good job for us this year. But I would be it's hard to point to just one player or even a couple players. But Rourke Watterson is a phenomenal young player. He is. We didn't have him against Goshen. Does the game change if he's there? I would like to think that it does. Okay, so speaking of, you alluded to it earlier, he was out from an injury that he sustained 2 games prior. Back, we think he'll be back, ready to go by next Friday. He just needed some time to recover and hit the recharge button. But again, Rourke is a special player. We know this. We know that he was young last year, right? Like when he played for us, I thought he was good last year. I think he's even better this year. But just a special player. Brooks has done a phenomenal job in goal. I think our back line has just been, again, you can point to the fact that we conceded 3 goals against Goshen, and none of us like that. But I think our back line is, because we've only conceded, I think, 9 goals this year. I think that's correct.
Team statisticians in the audience.
Is that correct? 9? Is it 9 goals we've conceded?
You're right.
That being said,
Sorg's trying to put me on the spot. I'm I don't know.
I think our back line has just been sound. I mean, Michael Dietz and Max Crawford, Spencer, Ben Novello, Damian, any of those guys that are playing in the back, I think credit to them. I tip my cap to them because that's those are
Nailed it.
Thank you.
The team statistician has blessed it.
Those are all guys that have been credible. What I think too, I look a little bit. I know I'm kind of retreading back to the Goshen game, but I think some of our better players, Jack Voigt, Mikey K, Resch, Jason Janowski, Ali. Like, I think they played okay, but they didn't play well enough to win us the game. And I think that's something that I look at as well. And I think if it were different and we were playing for a championship on that day, I think it's different. I really do. I believe that, and I think our guys were just a little bit casual in our approach, and maybe that's on me. I'll own some of that, but they were desperate for it, and they took it, and credit to them. But so really, to answer the question, there's a lot of guys that contribute, and there's no just one singular player that gets the job done. We win together, we lose together, and that's really the mentality. But this group is special. We've definitely got a great opportunity ahead of us.
Yeah, if that were an easier question to answer, we might not be looking at the same results in these games if you didn't have more than 9, more than 10, more than a starting lineup worth of contributors to this, right?
100%.
And I think, more than the goals against is the differential is tight. This club wins a lot of games this year by 1 goal. And I think that is, although frustrating at times for fans and heart attack inducing in coaches and fans, as you said after the Tulip game, it says a lot about your defense that you're able to choke out those 1-goal leads at the end of games. And that is tells more of a story than what those goals against tell. But as this season is winding down, we've said a few times, 3 games left. What would you say, Coach Sorg, is the biggest challenge for this team, whether physical or mental?
For me, it's the mentality, right? It is the mentality to finish the job that is ahead of us. And while step 1 is to try to win the conference and put ourselves in a position to play for a championship, winning a championship is going to be even equally as difficult. But for me, it's really just about keeping everyone healthy to the best that we can control that, and then the mentality of our guys to just grind out and get points on every one of these games.
Talk a little bit more about that mentality and what it would mean to you personally to get to that mountaintop.
Yeah, look, the club has played in 1 or 2 championships. 1.
We had one very meaningful game against Detroit City that ended up we didn't know it at the time, but it wouldn't have mattered at the end of the season. And then we had a do or die game the following year against Detroit. So
okay.
Arguably 2.
Yeah. So I think it would, what it does for the club is bigger than me, and it just, the supporters, what everyone here has put into it, it just the hard work and then to the players, right? Like, to be able to hoist the trophy at the end of the year would be incredible. And then the challenge is, how do you do it consistently? How do you do it year in and year out? But I can tell you that being at the top and competing for it, it's fun to be a part of. It's way better than being at the bottom. and we've got a great opportunity ahead of us. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to these last couple of weeks here with the guys and just to put our heads down and go to work.
Rosie, which of your former teammates would make the best coach? And before you answer that, we all know the right answer is Julian Burge. So which of your former teammates would make the second best coach behind Jules?
I thought about this. I saw the questions earlier today and thought about this one.
They're letting people behind the curtain a little bit too much. I'm not comfortable with this.
But no, I think we just actually played him when we played for Livonia. I think it'd be Louis Shefke. I think he's actually in the I think he's been in the coaching scene here and there. But I think playing with him, he was always one of the smartest players on the field for us. And I just think he understands the game. He's seen it at many levels. So I think Louis would be a very good coach.
Wow. That's really interesting. I like that. Long-time listeners will appreciate that one. Rosie, you got a baby on the way. You already have a full plate of extracurricular activities. On a personal note, you've always impressed me with your ability to stay calm and mature while juggling multiple priorities on the field and off. But can you tell the fans if you'll be back on the touchline for the Robins next year after another Rosie is added to the family?
To be determined. I got to check with the boss. And by the boss, I mean the wife.
Yeah, he does not mean Eric and Josh.
No, I mean the wife. We got a little one on the way due in December, so we're excited about that. It's going to be a big change. So other aspects of my life will change. I don't know if coaching will. It's still to be determined. But, yeah, we'll find out.
With an answer like that, Sorg, I think he's got a career ahead of him in coaching.
He does. I know this. If I have a choice, I want him back. I know that. He's been a really good addition, so happy to have him, and I hope we can bring him back.
And he answers questions diplomatically with the best of them.
Yes.
I love it.
Despite pulling the curtain back.
Sorry.
He had to be he had to be really careful on this one because you never know if his wife is going to make it 40 minutes into this podcast and still be listening.
That's true.
So, Coach, this one's from Ken Seelman from the Coffee Firm podcast, Lansing's second most popular soccer podcast and the most popular soccer and coffee podcast in the entire world. With college preseason starting soon, should fans be contacting our guys' college coaches and asking them to be excused from college training until the Lansing Common Football Club season is done?
Ken, I think that is a fantastic question. I think it's I love the mentality. I don't think you're going to win that. You're not going to win that. That will be a challenge certainly because some of the guys might not be available for that final weekend if that occurs. But again, goes back to the next man up mentality. But there's no way that we're going to get a coach to say, "Oh yeah, go finish your summer soccer," when they're trying to prepare for a college season that they want their guys in for. I don't see it happening. But know this: if guys, hypothetical, if Ben Novello says to me, "Coach, I got to go back to school on this date," I'm going to ask the question, "Are you sure? Can you see about going back?" So any player who's not available, they will be asked, all right, double check with your coach, see what you can work out. So know that it will, in some fashion, it will be asked. Our supporters and us coaches, we're not going to be making those phone calls because it's just,
Might demonstrate a level of support bordering on irrationality. But I like the idea. As you might say on the soccer field.
Agree. I think the idea and the concept, I think Ken's spot on. So, yeah.
Find other ways to demonstrate to college coaches that their players are best off with Lansing Common.
Correct. We just need them for like 6 more days or whatever it might, yeah.
So. And Coach, it was mentioned earlier in this coaching show, but it was also mentioned in the last coach's show. You're recently retired from the Lansing Police Department. Once again, I want to say thank you for your service. Coming from a family of law enforcement, it's very much appreciated. Can we get an update? What are you doing besides Lansing Common soccer this summer?
Golf, yard work, and more golf. In fact, playing tomorrow with Coach Oakley, who's coming into town.
Love that.
The inaugural coach of
we could have delayed
Lansing.
this by a day, had a July 3rd podcast with Oaks.
I know, but he's okay. But he'll be in town, so we're going out tomorrow afternoon, and it'll be good. I think he's got a game to scout.
I'm sure.
I think it's City plays a future opponent of his. I think it's Northern Indiana, actually, is who they're playing. But I'm not going to the game. I've seen them. Yeah.
Tell him to
but
send a few more Western players our way.
Yes, that's in the works as well.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
But
always had a great relationship with that program, and I'm sure that will only continue.
Yes.
All right, we're at time. Thank you, Sorg. Thank you, Rose. Thanks to our listeners and to our live attending audience. Steve is yelling at me, so we're not at time. We're going to take some audience questions. Let's go.
Oh.
At time, it's a podcast.
We've got Midwest Premier League President Steve Beckman with some wild cards to throw at our coaches.
I like it.
Or maybe at us. Who knows? He took your mic,
right.
so you're not answering anything.
Right. So, Mikey Costaglanis, did you see that coming at all, or what happened there?
Mikey K. Came in, club player from Michigan State. I thought Yeah, he's got something about him. All right, we're going to add you to the roster. I told him day one, you're probably a reserve guy. Well, that changed quickly. He's in training and banging in goals. And he quickly proved that he's a guy that is worthy of being a guy on the field for us. And he's made an impact. I like how he plays. I think there's obviously some pieces to his game that he can improve on. I think that's true for every player. But at the end of the day, Mikey K surprised the heck out of me. And it's a pleasant surprise. It makes our job even that much more difficult, right? Like Mikey K, if he wasn't doing it, who would be the next guy, right? You go, all right, Jack Voigt, Sammy Omar, Owen Resch. You got
and that shows in
Jason,
the way that the starting 11's turned over the course of the season, right? Usually something like that would indicate, these coaches are searching for answers. That ain't happening here because we're top of the table. I mean, you guys have an embarrassment of riches, such that whether it be injuries or club responsibilities or whatever, it is next man up all the way down. And I can't imagine how hard your job is when it comes time to make those priority decisions. And I mean, I know how hard it is because sometimes we don't get that starting lineup exactly when we want to release it before the games. But that just speaks to the job that you guys have to do as coaches to zero in on that and make those tough decisions.
Yeah, we're contemplating constantly and having conversations about, all right, who do we want in the last 15 minutes of a game? All right, because starting is one thing, but that's not the be-all, end-all, right? You want impact guys throughout the game, and so we start to negotiate and talk about that. But, Steve, your question about Mikey K has been he's been a great addition for us. Another guy who, no ego, he just buys in and just does the business. So it's good to have him.
Yeah, and it seems like, one of the personalities on the team, kind of a glue guy, Ali Ahmad. He's always meshing around with everybody else. And it seems like Mikey and Jack Heald, they were helping out at Ali's clinic the other week. So to see Mikey just integrate that way was out of nowhere for everybody who was following our announcements heading into the season. It was just it was a breath of fresh air to see him come in and take that role on. And it was very impressive. Another Michael that I was impressed with was Michael Dietz. What have you thought of his season? Michael
Dietz, I had seen some video of him, and I think he has been fantastic. He went away on a mission trip and missed a couple of games. But, again, back to next man up. We just filled that void, and we're continue to able to get results. But another guy who I've been really impressed with. I think he's got a high upside. He's got a toughness about him. He's got pace. I think he's a solid 1v1 defender. His distribution, can be better, but I think overall, he's just a class person, and I have the utmost respect for how he goes about his business.
All right, this one's for Rosie. So you're going to be an assistant coach at Olivet this upcoming season. What are you going to take away from your season this summer with Lansing Common that'll help you be a better coach at Olivet?
Yeah, for sure. Taking on more responsibility at Olivet next fall as well. So it's been good kind of getting hands-on this season with Lansing Common. Sorg sends us training plans before every session. So we're storing those away for all the, drills that Sorg then, that I've never done before that Sorg's putting together. So then I can take those to the guys at Olivet. So it's just kind of growing that knowledge bank and just continue to learning. It's great.
So Sorg's trusting a first-year assistant coach that much, huh?
He gives me the technical drills and we go from there. So
Rosie, what's your favorite part about running training?
I think just the atmosphere of everybody. It's different than a college level training. Everyone's there to have fun. There's at the college level, guys are still maturing and kind of doing all that. So if they mess around, you're kind of like worried about the level of training. But here, guys are messing around, still doing quality stuff in training. So it's good just to be around that environment and continue to be around those guys.
And I mean, obviously we run this club to win games and have a good time, but we also do it for the players to have something available to them, obviously from the mid-Michigan area, to have that training, even if they're not getting first team minutes, that they're available to do that type of activity during the summer between whatever their seasons are. And we're happy to have you on board to help them out and grow in that aspect. Yeah. And another area of growth, I'm going to go over here to Josh Lee, our intern. So what's been your favorite part about calling games from the booth?
The fact that he doesn't have to use this microphone.
Yes, that would actually be my number one. No, I think the fact that you guys have been trusting, because Steve, I believe I was talking to somebody, the fact that you guys had a crew that was maybe 3+ years doing this, it's truly been, I know I've done some work for Big Ten and the radio station at Michigan State, but this has truly been a fun summer, and I think Scott, the man that's recording this entire thing, can relate. I've genuinely grown a love for this club. Seeing that equalizer that Jack had last game, it celebrated passionately that goal, knowing that we equalized and there was another half hour or so hoping for that winner. But I've had a lot of fun this summer. I think this has been a lot of fun to be a part of. I can see the love that this community has for this club. I'm so excited the fact that I'm a small part of it. It'll be a small part of me for my entire career, hopefully, and I can always look back on and hopefully shout out Lansing Common FC if I get to the heights. But it's been a lot of fun. I've loved my interactions with Coach Derby on match days, talking about what he wants to hear on broadcast. So it's been a lot of fun. Biggest learning point has been getting better with these questions and trying to get the most insight out of not only Coach Sorg, but Coach Derby too.
Got another one from the audience. So again, this can't be for Josh Lee because he doesn't have a microphone.
Okay. Coach, I just want to bring you back to the Goshen game. You said that they were desperate for the 3 points. I agree. From my perspective in the stands, it really just seemed like they wanted it more. Those guys were fired up. The players on the pitch were fired up. The players on the sidelines were fired up. The coaches were fired up. The fans in the stands were fired up. I think that the scrum that happened kind of in the second half there was a real inflection point in the game. They responded to that moment, and I feel like we didn't. So I guess my question is, do you feel like the guys want it? Do you want it? Do you want it more than Goshen does? And if so, what's going to change between now and the end of the season to get the guys prepared mentally the next time they get socked in the mouth?
Yeah, that's a great question. And look, I appreciate it. I'm not worried about our guys. I'm not worried about coaching staff. I think we will absolutely have a response. It was, again, I just go back to the phrase I used earlier, kind of a perfect storm where we had been on a winning way. And not that we were due for a loss, because, right, you never prepare for that or you want those, but I think sometimes when you were, like, when we hoist the trophy at the end of the year, we're going to go, you know what, that game did us something, because there's takeaways from this moment. And I think what is you're going to see going forward is that desperation, that hunger, that belief, that drive from our guys to go, all right, we know Midwest Friday, Grand Rapids Sunday, following week Holland. We know we have to take points in every one of those games. Now, of course, all of those teams have games too, right, that can impact standings and results. But I think it's a very fair question that you ask. But quite honestly, I'm not worried about it. And I think the answer is that the leadership and the guys that we have in the group are they're gonna have a good response. I don't want to make excuses, because this is not an excuse by any means. But I think there's also a sliver of me that goes to go to a late game against Tulip and have to grind out a result there with getting back late, and then you're playing less than 48 hours. That's a challenge, okay? And maybe that's on us as coaching staff. Could we have manipulated some players that played 90 minutes? But I think we lose a little bit of our strength when we do that. We lose a little bit by doing that. And so I don't know if I've kind of circumvented, or I hope that I've answered the question, but I'm not worried about any of our guys not being able to respond. I know our guys are going to be hungry, come back, and I think you're going to see that. If you show up to training on Monday, you're going to see a group of guys that are hungry and eager to go, you know what? We have a 3-game season. What's occurred, we've done. We've taken care of business. We've put ourselves in a great position. Let's go finish the job.
to kind of build off that as well, my message after the game to the guys after, the first loss was, look at what we've done up to that point. We've earned ourselves these results to then have a game like this where, okay, we maybe got punched in the mouth and didn't respond, but you're still top of the table based on what you've done prior games. So take that and, push this one to the side, and then we go again next week. So,
Well, and if I could just interject, the scoreboard is what it is, but I was damn proud of the guys for getting literally punched in the mouth and not responding in kind. We have rarely, if ever, seen a Lansing Common player react like that on the field, and we saw it 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't know. We'll wait for the disciplinary committee to come out with a report, but the displays that we saw from the Goshen team on Sunday, I'd be sick if any of our guys ever behaved like that, let alone that many in one game, even if we got 3 points out of it. So credit to you guys for the composure that the team did exhibit on the field, even if it didn't result in the result we wanted. But we got another audience question, this one from Club President Eric Walcott.
Yeah, so this one directed towards Rosie, and maybe you kind of alluded to it in your last answer, but Sorg, also feel free to chime in. You were a player on 2 teams our first 2 years that came very close to that league title and just didn't quite get there. What's something you take from that experience that you can give to the guys to help them in this final push?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was looking at on the website, it has the historic standings, and we've continued to be at the top.
I got a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we've continued to be at the top there, and we just haven't been able to get over that hump of being first in the league or winning the championship. So I think just the message to them is be the first team to do this. Stay mentally sharp. It's not a long season calendar wise, but it feels like a long season with how many games you play in a short span. So just continue to be dialed in. Don't waste a training session. You only have so many of these left. So that's kind of been my message, because before you know it, you don't perform and your season's over just like that. So, we have 3 games left and you got to take points.
To piggyback is my phrase is going to be just 3 games. Focus on, obviously one at a time, goes without saying, but we've been there. We're historically, although short term of the club being in existence, 5 years, but at the end of the day, we've been there. We've been polite. We've knocked on the door a couple times. It's time to kick the damn door down, and that's the mentality kind of us going forward. We got to go. We can't just be nice about it and say, "Oh, let's go win it." You got to take it, and there's a difference. It's going to take everything. It's going to take every one of our guys. It's going to take everyone to be on at their best, and it's important that we train well. It's important that we stay the course and have really good. It's between the years. The mentality of our guys is going to be critically important. So.
At the risk of cutting this thing off early again, now it looks like we're at time. And we got a couple minutes to stretch our legs and get another beer before the second half of this U.S.-Guatemala match. But thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. Thanks, everybody, for showing up, including those in the other room who've probably been listening to us against their will for the last hour-ish. But this has been a lot of fun. Let's do it again soon. We're going to have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about in a few weeks, eh?
Let's hope so.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
night.
Yeah, you too.